afternoon to everybody. This is a meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission. Today is September the 15th of 2022. First item is call to roll call.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Erasmo Villarreal.
Present.
Jorge Dominguez.
Present.
Mike Baron.
Present.
Johnny Narvaez.
Present.
Yushin Wang.
Here.
Larry Dovalina. Daniela Salapaz. Ana Villarreal. For the record, Mr. Chairman, you do have quorum.
Thank you. Next item is the Pledge of Allegiance. Everybody please stand up. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
No, no one said it. No, they want to excuse the.
Next item is the consideration of the approval of the minutes of September the 1st of 2022.
Move to approve the minutes of September 1st, 2022.
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Would you like to
Against?
take,
Motion carries.
would you like to take a moment to, the commissioners that are not here, or?
Yes, I'll make a motion to excuse those commissioners that are not present today.
Second. Yeah.
And a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those against, motion carries. Thank you. The next item is, do we have anybody signed up at this point for citizens' comments?
No, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. The next item is public hearings. First public hearing is amending the City of Laredo Land Development Code, Article 5, Section 24-78.2 B, entitled Central Business District, Arts and Entertainment District, and Historic District exemptions. To exempt the St. Peter's Historic District from the off-street parking requirements contained in Section 24-78, and thereby providing the St. Peter's Historic District with the same parking exemptions which currently apply to the Old Mercado and the San Agustin de Laredo Historic Districts. Provided that this ordinance shall be cumulative, providing for severability clause, and providing for publication and effective date. Yes, sir? Who's gonna make that presentation?
Right here.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the commission. Vanessa Guerra from your planning staff, for the record. Let's see if they, can you put up the presentation? Let's see. Alrighty. By way of background, on August 21st, the City Council directed staff to develop an ordinance amendment intending to reduce off-street parking requirements for uses located within the St. Peter's Historic District. The purpose of the amendment is to exempt the the purpose of the amendment is to exempt the St. Peter's Historic District from off-street parking requirements as contained in the Laredo Land Development Code, Section 24-78. The intention is to provide the historic district with the same exemptions as those which apply to the Old Mercado and San Agustin historic districts. As a brief overview, we're going to review zoning and overlay districts. We'll touch on the current parking requirements as they apply to historic districts, and we'll go over the proposed changes to the ordinance. Okay, currently, with regard to zoning, the city, and this is just kind of giving everyone a background on zoning. Zoning is divided into zoning districts and specific use zoning overlay districts. So it's a bit hard to see on the screen, but what I tried to capture there is the bottom is the property itself, with the middle layer is the zoning, and then the last layer is an overlay. Okay, so zoning districts, the rules regarding zoning districts are located in Laredo Land Development Code, Section 24-60. The zoning districts were developed in accordance with our comprehensive plan, and they're intended to promote the health, safety, and general welfare of our citizens and community. There are currently 19 zoning districts, and I have listed them there for you. They're the ones we're all familiar with, you know, B1, R1, single family, you know, residential district, and on down the list. Moving on to specific use zoning overlay districts. Again, the rules regarding the overlay districts are captured in 24.62.4. They're intended to promote development or redevelopment. They're generally more restrictive. They're subject to additional performance standards, and there are currently 9 specific use zoning overlay districts, of which the historic districts are among them. There we go. Sorry about that. So that's the one we just covered. There we go. So, historic districts. Historic districts are overlay zones which have requirements in addition to the underlying zone. That, you know, thereby we can see that they're a little bit, can be more restrictive. The purpose for our historic district is to promote preservation, restoration, and rehabilitation of our historic resources. The rules regarding those historic districts are captured in 2466 of our Land Development Code. There are 3 historic districts. We have our St. Peter's, Old Mercado, and San Agustin. A little bit hard to see there. That map, what it does is it tries to capture both the zoning and the overlay historic districts. As you see on the map, you'll see that that bright blue area is zoned CBD. The sort of the pinkish area is Arts and Entertainment District, and that sort of lighter pink area to the side, that's basically all residential office. And then they're bounded, you'll see the boundaries there, indicated in yellow, green, and purple. Again, a little bit hard to see, but those are you'll see the boundaries of the overlay. This is a little bit closer view of the St. Peter's Historic District and its zones. Again, closer view of Old Mercado and its zones, A&E and CBD with the Old Mercado and San Agustin superimposed. And here we get to the parking regulations. Parking requirements are located in Section 2478 of the Land Development Code. In general, the parking requirements are based on the underlying zone and the type of land use. So that's how you go about figuring out how much parking you're required to provide. As an example, for general retail, the code requires 1 parking space for every 200 square feet if your use is under 5,000 square feet, or if it's over 5,000 square feet, then you'd be required to provide 1 parking space for every 250 square feet. In historic districts, there's a bit, there's some exemptions that only apply to historic districts with regard to parking. And those are that the building official may waive 50% of the parking required of uses located within a historic district, and that legal and adjacent parking spaces may be counted towards that requirement, which is not something that's typically allowed for other uses not located in historic districts. So, the current exemptions under the code read that the Central Business District and the Arts and Entertainment District are exempt from parking requirements. The code does provide that if off-street parking is provided in those districts, then those parking spaces need to be constructed as required in the code. With regard to Old Mercado and San Agustin, they're both wholly located within the CBD and Arts and Entertainment Districts. Therefore, they enjoy the same exemption. So they are exempt from the parking requirements as stated above. The proposed ordinance amendment will provide the St. Peter's District with the same off-street parking exemptions that currently apply to Old Mercado and the San Agustin Historic District. What you have before you is the proposed change. And if you see in section 24-78.2, which identifies the exemptions that apply to all of those districts, we're adding the verbiage that includes the St. Peter's Historic District will now be afforded the same exemptions as those which apply to the Central Business and the Arts and Entertainment District. And, Mr. Chairman, that is the proposed motion, either recommendation of approval or denial of the proposed motion, of the proposed ordinance.
All right. This is a public hearing. Anybody who wishes to speak for this proposed amendment to the historic district? Anybody who wishes to speak against the proposed change? Okay, I have some questions.
Yes.
Number one is, there's three different types of historic districts. They're not all the same. The St. Peter's Historic District, when it was put in place, it was put in place primarily to save the quality of the architectural residential houses, okay? To change the character of something that was done. I think Nina Mendez is the one that was a historic preservation officer back then when these historic districts were designed. The intent was strictly that, to keep the area as residential and bring the area back, to that really nice historic era. That was the intent, which I think was, something correct to do. That's one of my comments. My second comment is, has this gone to the Historical Commission for review?
No, sir.
Don't you think it would be more appropriate for them to look at this thing too and make recommendations, since the Historic Commission is the one that oversees historic districts?
We can do that. We
I
absolutely
think-
can be.
I think that would be some, and the reason I say that is for two things. I don't see a lot of residents here, to comment on the ordinance. Where I would have thought we would have a lot of residents if, I guess, there would have been, a town hall meeting there or something. I think it would be in our best interest of the community at this point to have the Historic Commission review this thing first, because they are the ones that are in tune with historic preservation. Before we take action on it, I would like to see what the recommendation from them would be.
Mr. Chair, this comes from the city council, and the reason this came about was we have the historic district that's residential office. Because it requires parking and the St. Peter's area doesn't really have the parking, investors were having to do a zone change to CBD. The residents of St. Peter's district were really not for the CBD zone change, right? So, but that was the only way that a person could do their investment and not have to put parking in there. So because of that, we talked to the councilwoman, talked to Brady, and said, look, if we can adjust the St. Peter's District's parking area, they won't have to do that zone change to interfere with the housing that you're talking about, and they can still do something in the residential office and not have to have that parking. So this is coming around from issues that we were having in the St. Peter's District. We're having some movement of investors coming into the area, wanting to do coffee shops, things of that nature, light business in the area. But the requirement of the parking is keeping them from actually opening because they don't meet the parking requirement, which they have a decision to make. And it would be either don't do the investment or apply for a CBD zone change. And once again, that is something that the residents of the St. Peter's District did not want. They didn't want to expand the CBD zone into the historic district. So this is a, way of allowing for the investments to happen, but to protect the houses in the St. Peter's District. But to your point, we will bring this to the Historic Commission just so that they can see what's being done with this ordinance. But yes, it was brought from the city councilman city council to us.
But the proper procedure should have been Historic District first and then the Planning and Zoning Commission, because you do want to get their input.
Just.
And I understand what you're telling me. You got a directive, and I get that. But I think it would have been more appropriate to go Historic District Commission and then City Council. That's my opinion on that.
Just briefly, I'd just like to add that this is very strictly in line with our comprehensive plan. It does talk about lifting the parking requirements in our residential office districts and our historic districts in order to encourage renovation and rehabilitation, revitalization of those areas. So this is in line with our comp plan. And also, while totally agree, we're happy to take it to our historic, they don't review parking when they review their cases. You know, it's strictly having to do with the exterior of the structure. And the land development code in this case does not
I
require,
understand what you're telling me.
does not
but
require,
Most of the area is zoned either residential or residential office.
that's correct.
For what he's talking about investments, now you're gonna need a particular zone change if you get out of the RO. RO is that very specific when it was put in place in that district. They didn't want to change the character of the district. They said, we'll allow you to have an office, residential office type situation. What Orly just said, he was talking about investors coming in and changing the character of the neighborhood.
To be clear, this ordinance does not change the allowed uses.
Right.
It will not change the
So
uses that
then-
are allowed.
So then the only uses that will be allowed in this historic district are what's currently there?
That's correct.
So no one can come in and apply for a zone change?
They can apply for a zone change, but it's not necessarily the case that they'll receive it.
Right.
But this ordinance does not change any of the uses that are currently allowed.
So it'll be strictly a residential office?
This, yes, this does not affect zoning at all whatsoever.
Okay. Mr. Dominguez?
I don't agree with the ordinance, Mr. Chairman. We know that St. Peter District, it's a beautiful place. And the intention that the Historical Society or Commission has been to preserve the area. Even though we can have offices there, okay? Now we're having some houses that have been turned into little bars, little get-togethers, see? So that has defeated the purpose of creating those type of districts. We need to keep in mind that what we want is to preserve. We want to bring the investors so they can actually bring those houses up to date with good improvements, but to have them the same way. The way the ordinance, it sounds to me, is that we're tailoring an ordinance for someone that wants to do investments in that area, particular for business. And I think that area was meant to be residential from the beginning. And the idea of the Historical Commission is to preserve those values that we have there. This does not preserve the values. Actually, it's opened the doors to start tearing down the district. So I agree with you, Mr. Chairman. I think the Historical Commission should look at it and they should bring an input that we can actually work with. That's my comment.
Mr. Chairman?
Anybody else have anything? Yes, sir.
Yes.
Mr. Barron.
Just a quick question. I know these districts have, I guess, not benefits, but I would say opportunities for property owners to apply for, I'm sorry, I'm losing the train of thought here, but they.
An easy assistance?
Not as far as abatements.
Yeah.
As incentives for the St. Peter's District especially,
do tax
to be able to try to encourage the current property owners that are there to invest, right, and save as far as on the tax. Can you let me know how many people have applied for that?
We don't have those numbers on us
Right,
currently.
I could guess for you, and I would say none in the past, I don't know, 20 years. Because it's not enough of an incentive for these folks to do. And unfortunately for the St. Peter's District, there are some folks, you know, that do, and usually like they mentioned, it's folks that are attorneys trying to office out of that area, that do put an investment in there, and they do try to take care of the area and have to go to the Historic Commission for any changes that they have to do to the exterior of the buildings. But unfortunately, I don't see a lot of the folks there being able to do that now, whether they need grants, maybe they need some other type of incentive to do it, because what they have now is not working. And the only thing that's happening in that area is that it's deteriorating. Now, LISD is leaving this area. those buildings are gonna be available. And the only thing I can think of that I am in support of is people coming in, trying to preserve like they're supposed to. They cannot change anything without going to the historic board.
That's correct.
Invest monies into it, and I think these folks is what's happening is they do need some off-street parking for a coffee shop, for an office, for whatever business they're trying to do here. And I think that's the reason why this ordinance is here, so they can have the same opportunities that the other areas have in the downtown, which is they don't need the parking requirement for those individuals. And I think the only folks that are coming in here are all these attorneys or coffee shops or things like that. And it is beautifying the area. There's a few properties that I know of now that go in there and they've done a great job. And unfortunately, these are the only folks that are doing there. And I would hope that the current property owners that own those homes would be able to have more incentive than just a tax abatement. And that's why none of them are coming in. And it's gonna be tough for these folks to improve their properties as it would be recommended by the historic board. So I'm in agreement with this. I think it's something that's needed to encourage people to come and invest their monies here in this area. And if it's something that we can help someone to be able to find some off-street parking, I don't think it's, personally, I don't think it's an issue. I do recommend that this do go to the historic board, but I think we can take action on it today in order not to slow the process, because there are people investing in this area to help beautify the area. I don't think there's anyone there to make nightclubs or to demolish any buildings. You can't demolish anything without having the approval of council and the historic board.
That's right. And anything that comes to the historic district must go to the historic board. So they show the remodel, they show the type of materials they're gonna use. All that has to be presented to the historic committee, and they review that. So even if it is for a coffee shop, let's say, they still have to abide by the historic district and maintain that house. And Roxy here, Ms. Laura Garza, she's in charge of receiving all that information, and then it goes to them and they approve it. So there is a process, but the tearing down doesn't.
No, I can't do that.
Mr. Chairman, just for benefit of the audience and the people viewing, all three historic districts do fall within our neighborhood empowerment zones. So they do have that tool available to them as well, which the thresholds for applying for those assistance through the Neighborhood Empowerment Zone Program are a bit easier to meet than the tax abatement requirements. And we do encourage everybody, in our historic districts. We just had a presentation from our NEZ program coordinator at our last historic district meeting to, remind everybody that these tools are available to them for renovation and rehabilitation of their historic homes.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else in the commission wish to speak? No? If not, what are the wishes of the commission?
I motion to approve the ordinance as presented, and then take into the historic commission.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second. All those in favor of the ordinance signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those against? I'm against. I think we have 1, 2, 4.
Four.
Okay,
Four.
the ordinance passes.
2 against.
2 against.
2 against.
All right, the next item is amending the zoning ordinance of the city of Laredo by rezoning Lot 3, Block 1738 Eastern Division, located at 2815 Zacatecas
Oh,
Street,
sorry, pardon me.
and 2811 Zacatecas Street from B1 to B4.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, we have the applicant, Hermelio Sierra, owner representative. The property location, Lot 3, Block 1738 Eastern Division, located at 2815 Zacatecas Street and 2811 Zacatecas Street. Zone changes from a B1 to B4. Proposed use is event rental hall. Letter sent was 29. We have none for and none against. Location view. Aerial view. Street view. Zoning map. The future land use map. And the recommendation is, staff does not support. And the proposed motion.
Okay, thank you. This is a public hearing. Anybody who wishes to speak in favor of the zone change? Anybody who wishes to speak against the zone change? Against the zone change? All right, does anybody in the commission have any questions for staff or anybody? If they don't, what are the wishes of the commission?
Motion to close the public hearing and go with staff recommendation.
Second advice.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those against, motion carries. Next item is amending the zoning ordinance of the city of Laredo by authorizing the issuance of a special use permit of a restaurant serving alcohol on Lot 3, Block 1, Delmar North. Finding number 1 located at 7718 McPherson Road, Building E1, Suite 1 and 2.
Mr. Navarro, is,
This is the one that was asked to be tabled?
yes, sir.
Yes, the applicant asked if this item could be tabled.
All right, can we have a motion to table?
Motion to table, advice.
Advice, second?
Second.
And a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those against, motion to table. Next item, amending zoning ordinance of the city of Laredo by rezoning lot 12, block 304, Western Division, located at 1620 Santa Maria from R3 to B3.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
No sirve mi copo.
For the record, we have the applicant, we have Pablo Manzano, which is the owner. Property location is lot 12, block 304, Western Division, located at 1620 Santa Maria Avenue. Zone changes from an R3 to B3. Proposed use is a grocery store restaurant. Letter sent is 27. We have none for and none against. Location view. Street view. This is the aerial view. Zoning map. The future land use map. And the recommendation is staff supports. And the proposed motion.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Anybody who wishes to speak in favor of the zone change? In favor of the zone change? Anybody who wishes to speak against the zone change? Against the zone change? All right, what are the wishes of the commission?
Motion to close the public hearing and go with staff recommendation.
We have a motion by Mr. Baron. Do we have a second?
Second.
And we have a second. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those against, motion carries. The next item, amending the zoning ordinance of the city of Laredo by rezoning approximately 1.32 acres. This property is, where is it? It's located west of Bob Bullock Loop and south of Room for More Way from R1 to B4.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, we have the applicant, Killam Development Ltd. owner. We have Radcliffe Killam II applicant. We have Rolando Ortiz representative. Property location, it is approximately 1.32 acres located west of Bob Bullock Loop and south of Room for More Way. Zone change is from an R1 to a B4. Proposed use is commercial mini storage. Letter sent is 12. We have none for and none against. Location view. Street, aerial view. Street view. Zoning map. Future land use map. And the recommendation is staff supports. And the proposed motion.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Anybody who wishes to speak in favor? In favor.
Good evening, Chairman, members of the commission. Vince Martinez, Representative Killen Development, and we're in favor of the zone change.
You? Anybody else who wishes to speak in favor? In favor? Anybody who wishes to speak against the zone change? All right, what are the wishes of the commission?
I'll move to close public hearing and support staff recommendation for the zone change.
We have a
Second.
motion and second, who did it? Dominguez?
Yes.
The second by Dominguez. All those in favor of the zone change signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those against, the motion carries. Next item is amending the zoning ordinance of the city of Laredo by rezoning approximately 2.88 acre tract of land out of Lot 1, Block 1, HAV. This property is located at 22,801 FM 1472 Road from AG to M1.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Give me one moment. Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, we have the applicant STSDL Carriers, Inc., which are the owners. We have Santos de Leon applicant, and we have Helen Acevedo as representative. Property location is approximately 2.88 acres, located at 22801 FM 1472. We have a zone change from an AG to M1. Proposed use is a trucking company. They want us to do truck and trailer sales. Letters sent was 6, and we have none for and none against. Location view. Aerial view. Street view. Zoning map. Future land use map. And the recommendation is staff supports. And the proposed motion.
Okay, this is a public hearing. Anybody who wishes to speak in favor of the zone change, in favor of the zone change? Anybody who wishes to speak against the zone change, against the zone change? Okay, I have a question before I ask for a motion. Half of this property, this is an existing property, is that correct?
That's correct.
It's already an existing business, half of it is in the county, and they're only
Yes.
legal, bringing in what's in within the city limits?
That's correct.
All right. Anybody willing to make a motion
Motion to, okay?
to approve, to
To
follow
approve the
staff?
following
staff
staff's
recommendation?
recommendation.
Second that motion.
All right, there's a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those against, motion carries. Amending the zoning ordinance of the city of Laredo by amending ordinance 2016-0-139, which authorizes a conditional use permit for an amusement redemption machine establishment on Lot 1, Block 1, Aniel Associates. This property is located at 9110 McPherson Road, and it is coming here in order to remove Anil Gupta and Yam Lee and replace with Jorge, is that
Vicencio
Vicencio?
Barcenas.
One of my glasses.
Jorge
As the
Vicencio
party to whom
Barcenas.
the permit is issued. All right?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, we have Anil Gupta as the owner applicant. Property location, Lot 1, Block 1, Anil Associates LLC, Phase 1, located at 9110 McPherson Road. We have the zone change request, which this would be an amendment of a conditional use permit for an amusement redemption machine establishment. Proposed use is an amusement redemption machine establishment. Letters sent were 11. We have none for and none against. Location view. Aerial view. Street view. zoning map, future land use map, and the recommendation is staff supports, and the proposed motion.
All right. This is a public hearing. Anybody who wishes to speak in favor? Anybody who wishes to speak against? All right, there's only one thing here. This is a B3 zone, right? The reason that that particular condition was put in there is because the maquinitas were going into a B4. So that clause was put in there specifically where you could not transfer it because it doesn't have the correct zoning. For you to try to do that right now, I think is against the ordinance, in my opinion, but we have our legal staff here. That was the intent for, if you came back and you wanted to have somebody else open there, you have to go through the process. Apply for zone change, making sure you have the correct zoning for maquinitas. It was a lot, if I remember back then, I think Councilman San Miguel was a council member, and that was one of the conditions that he specifically asked for, that there was a lot of opposition way back then to this particular maquinitas business there. But that's why that clause was put in there, where if there was gonna be a change, you had to go through the process again. To just strike it out like that would be contrary to what the way the ordinance reads.
Now, this particular business was open before the new ordinance came in.
It opened
They're legal
just before.
non-compliant. Yeah, they're
But-
legal non-conforming.
But that's why that's why that clause was put in there. If you're gonna change it to anybody else, you have to go through the process because it requires a B4. Specifically put in there for that.
And I agree with you, Mr. Chairman. As a matter of fact, I did some research myself, and I had communications with the planning zone staff, and I think we should, we come to a point that we need to enforce the ordinance.
Yeah.
If this particular business is not under the owner's name or the recipient of the CUP is no longer there, then you cannot transfer. Amending the ordinance, it means that it is being transferred.
Right.
So we're just kind of discussing covering it up, the words. So when you close the public hearing, I'm ready to make a motion to deny the change and encourage the applicant to come in and request for a zone change, and then everybody's gonna be happy.
Okay. You wanna make a motion?
Yes. The motion to deny, and just to deny the zone change.
Is there a second?
Speak for or against? I don't think we've opened the public hearing for or against.
Yes, we did.
We did?
Yes, sir, we did.
There's some people that want to.
Well,
You wanna allow
nobody
them to
stood
speak?
up. I
You wanna
did
allow
go
them
through.
to speak? I mean,
I'll
that's up
go
to you.
ahead and let them, sure.
Okay.
Yes, I got no, come on in.
Hello, my name is Elizabeth Almanza Gupta, and I'm for the amendment to change it's only, we're just changing the tenant.
Okay.
Right. Okay, that's your comment? Does anybody have any questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
The business is in operation right now, or is it closed?
Right now, we don't have any tenants, so we just gonna be changing the tenants right now, that's all.
So if the business is not operational, then the CUP is not active.
Exactly, it's not an active
Yeah.
CUP.
We have a CUP for 10 years, and we still have 4 more years for that.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, the fact that the business is not operational, and the fact that no CUP will be allowed, then the owner should be encouraged to seek for a B4, a zone change, and that will actually legalize the position of that particular building. It has created a lot of problems with traffic in that area, and the conditions that it is right now, like if we put it on the map, it is very, very disregarded. Actually, it looks really, really bad. Now,
Our new,
by going on a B4, then we're opening the possibilities for that area, not only for Maquinitas, but for other type of businesses. So that's the reason that I make the motion to deny. It's not anything personal, it's just the facts that are before us as a committee, we call for the denial.
Excuse me, we applied 4 times for a zone change for a B4, and it's always been denied. And we do qualify for it, but council just denies it. I don't understand why.
And all the time the staff was recommended, the supporting,
Yes.
and the councilman never be accepted. So we don't know. I mean, and that's the only one the councilman, they are the one suggest us, okay, why don't you accept the CUP and we give you 10 years and we say, okay, that's fine. I mean, because we just need to be granted, we don't care about, we have to have a B4 or CUP or what, and that's why we accept it. And it's not that this is the first time, and that's why the councilman give us for 10 years. And they say, okay, you have a CUP for 10 years, and so.
I will go ahead and respond, Mr. Chairman, if I'm, this board was created to create a community that actually create the businesses provided by the zoning. See, I understand that you have a building and you want to rent it, and one of the best options to rent that building is for Maquinitas. But your zoning is not for Maquinitas. It changed, and now it requires a B4. All I can tell you is that you need to reapply for a B4
Do you?
in order for you to, let me finish. And if the B4 is not granted, then actually you need to market your buildings in accordance to the zoning that you have. We cannot go and deviate from the ordinance, because that's the reason we're here. We're here, Mr. Chairman, members, to create to make sure that the ordinances are in place, and that's why the community is protected. Because if it's a B3, then let's go ahead and have a business that is a B3 there. See?
I do agree with you, but I'm not agree that what you saying can be just over here for the ordinance. I seen so many people, they have an influence and they apply the B4 and they accept it. The same area, I mean, it have several areas. In the McPherson, there is several building is a B4, and after me, they have applied it and they get accepted. And because since we don't have an influence, so we just applying and we just get denied. So, I mean, what you're saying, I agree with you, but what I'm saying, so I mean, it's not fair for me either.
We treat everybody the same.
I don't think
Just
so.
a point of, just to let you know about the new ordinance for Maquinitas, it doesn't allow for you to create a B4 for the Maquinitas. It has to be a B4 already. So there's no applying to change to a B4 because that doesn't exist for the Maquinitas. So just clarification, because I know you're suggesting to do a B4, but it
Well,
It's not allowed.
actually, what I'm suggesting is that they create a B4 not for the purpose of the Maquinitas, but for other purpose. See?
If I may, I think the point here is the conditional use permit. And conditional use permits, especially for redemptions in entertainment centers, are issued specifically for the operator.
Yeah.
And if the operator is no longer operating,
Goes away.
it goes away.
Yeah.
The conditional use permit, even if it's issued for 10 years, if that operator is no longer operating it, it's voided. Because it's no longer applied to that person, and in the first line, it says it is non-transferable. And I think staff is wrong in transferring it to a new person's name.
Can I just respond to that and why we did process this application? Because we thought very carefully about the new ordinance, the timing of the new ordinances, and when this PUP was adopted. And you are right, it does say non-transferable, as does all special use permits and CUPs. However, we know we transfer them quite often. We transfer CUPs and SUPs all the time. What the issue is that we don't transfer it without action of council, right? Now, in this case, we're processing it because this this was issued prior to the adoption of the new ordinance, whereby now this use falls into our legal non-conforming
How
status.
do you interpret what you're trying to strike out?
The
Yeah.
operator?
I mean, it very clearly states in the ordinance that it's non-transferable. So how do you make that interpretation?
It's
that you can't-
non-transferable without action of council.
It's not transferable because you have to be the operator of the permit.
That's correct,
And you
and that's why
cannot
you can
transfer it
amend.
if they're no longer gonna be using it.
You can't transfer it
cannot
without action
transfer
of
it.
council.
I'm sorry.
That's
Mr.
correct.
Villarreal, we are just doing the amendment, and that's what we did last time.
Yeah, but I mean, the way they wrote up the ordinance, it's not transferable. It's given specifically to the operator only. You cannot transfer it to somebody else. You cannot. But
It's at 10 years.
it doesn't make
We
any
just
difference.
doing for the tenant, we're not selling to building to someone else. They're
We-
gonna do some,
I-
we
I-
are the same owner.
I know what you're saying, but the way that they wrote it up, it says you gotta be the operator.
Well,
That's
we're
what it
seeing it
says.
as with council approval, so they would go from here to council, and they have to get council.
That's fine, I mean, this is a
That's how
public
we
hearing, and
interpret
we're
it.
gonna make a recommendation, and the council will have the final say-so.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I don't know if the applicant or have any additional comments to say before we take action.
We're just doing the amendment, the.
Right.
having
No, we
another
understand.
Tenant.
Yes.
That's it.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right, thank you for your comment.
Mr. Chair, I don't know if we could recommend to have postpone the item, not deny or postpone it, have legal take a look at it, because it seems like we have two different sides of what we're trying to clarify. And I would feel more comfortable once they have some time to look at it, have a legal opinion on it. If it's transferable and the council can do it, then, and legal says it's good to go, then we're good to go. And if they say no, they still, I would just prefer to possibly do that. But I know there's some-
We have an
another
attorney?
motion on the table.
We did speak
have an
with,
attorney in the board?
with legal department. I guess they can respond. But we'd have to talk with them about this issue.
Yes, yeah, I did get to briefly review this today, but I mean, if y'all want to table and give me more time, that'd be great. What I'm seeing right now is we got to figure out what transferability means, because in my mind, I'm thinking, you know, a contract, this is not assignable, this is not transferable. I can't go give it to somebody without anybody else's approval. And so there's that interpretation, and then there's also, you know, it can't be transferred at all.
That's correct.
And so I think that we have section 24.94.11 in the land development code, and it states that conditional use permits are transferable only with the approval of city council. And so to me, that would seem to control the situation here. But if you would like to wait for more time and let me look at it further, that'd be fine too.
Up to the wishes of the commission.
There's a motion on the
There
table.
is a motion on the floor right now. Do we have a second to that motion?
I'll second the table.
No, the
Oh,
motion was to deny.
Oh, sorry.
The motion.
The motion is to deny.
The motion is to deny based on what we have in front of us.
Right.
The fact that the previous CUP it reads, CUP shall be issued to Anil Gupta and Jamping Lee and is non-transferable.
Right.
I mean, that's the fact right there.
Yeah.
So if we go beyond that, then we're opening ourselves for somebody else to come here and mention that there might be some influence in discrimination. And I don't like that.
Okay, we can do one of two things. Obviously, there's a motion on the floor. Is there a second? Okay, the motion dies for lack of a second. Is there another motion?
Make a motion to postpone the item and have legal take a look at this.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
If I may add to that motion, if legal can provide us a memo on, and I would like further to just even interpret this, the meaning is what it would mean for other people, and we're seeing other CUP permit holders coming to change something as just a tenant. Because I know that these are usually issued for landowner, the
Right.
owner of the
Only for
property.
the owners.
So,
As amended.
As amended. All right, we have a motion. Did you second it?
Second that advice.
Oh, advice. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those against?
Against?
One against. All right. Motion, it's been tabled for legal review. Next item, amending the zoning ordinance of the city of Laredo by rezoning Lot 8, Block 2156, Eastern Division, located at 3102 what? Wooster Street, from AG to R3.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, applicant is Roberto Jimenez Jr. Priscilla Trevino is the applicant and the representative. The property location is Lot 8, Block 2156, Eastern Division, located at 3102 Woodster Street. The zone change request is from an AG to an R3. The proposed use is a duplex. Letters sent were 14 and none for and none against. Location view. Aerial view. Street view. Zoning overview. Future land use. And staff recommendations. Staff supports the proposed zone change. Proposed motion. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Anybody who wishes to speak in favor? In favor? Anybody who wishes to speak against the zone change? All right, what are the wishes of the
I have a
commission?
question real quick,
Yes, sir.
for staff. Have they mentioned if they're gonna make apartments or, I mean, they're asking for an R3, of course. Now, and the reason I ask is because it's a small lot. Have they, duplex? Okay. Okay.
All right,
Did I ask for public comments?
I'm sorry?
Were you about to ask for public comments?
I already did. I need a motion.
A motion.
Got a motion?
Motion. I move to close public comments and support staff recommendations.
Second.
Second by Daniela. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those against? Motion carries. The next item, amending the zoning ordinance of the city of Laredo by rezoning Lot 1, Block 14, Lago del Valle subdivision, Phase 2, located at 1610 Concord Hills Boulevard, from R1 to R1A and to B3.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, applicant is Agave Investments LLC, the owner. Property location, Lot 1, Block 14, Lago de Valle subdivision, Phase 2, located at 1610 Concord Hills Boulevard. The zone change request is from an R1 and R1A to a B3. The proposed use is mixed use. Applicant did not identify the specific proposed mixed use. Letter sent 74 for 0 against 0. Location view. Aerial view. Street view. Zoning overview. Future land use. Staff recommendation, staff supports the proposed zone change. Proposed motion. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Anybody who wishes to speak in favor, in favor.
Good evening, Commissioner Chairman and Commissioners. This piece of property is right on the corner of the newly constructed Los Presidentes Boulevard and Concord Hills. It's, I guess, Los Presidentes is a 100-foot right-of-way. Concord Hills is an 80-foot, and it's a platted piece of property, and it was always meant to be, either a light commercial or multifamily. Once that area got developed, and there was a secondary outlet, which is now Los Presidentes. And we're bringing it. It kind of was prompted by the city asking for some right-of-way to continue Concord Hills all the way to the new sports center. So we figured this would be an appropriate zoning for this intersection.
Anybody have any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else who wishes to speak in favor of the zone change, in favor of the zone change? Anybody who wishes to speak against the zone change, against the zone change? All right, what are the wishes of the commission?
I'll move to close public hearing and support staff recommendation for the zone change.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? We have a second? By Daniela. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those against? Motion carries. Next item, amending the zoning ordinance of the city of Laredo by rezoning approximately 2.5329 acres located in Portion 12. This property is located east of Old Milwaukee Road and south of State Highway 359. Request is from R3 and V4 to B4.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, applicant is Mesquite Land Development, Inc., owner, Otis Nance Engineering, applicant and representative. Property location, approximately 2.5329 acres, located east of Old Milwaukee Road and south of State Highway 359. The zone change request is from an R3 and B4 to a B4. The proposed use is commercial. The applicant did not identify the specific proposed commercial use. Letter sent 740 against 0. Location view. Aerial view. Street view. Zoning overview. Featured land use. Staff recommendations, staff supports the proposed zone change. Proposed motion. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, this is a public hearing. Anybody who wishes to speak in favor?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. Wayne Nance with Porterhouse Engineering. We're in support of this zone change, and we're here to answer any questions you might have.
All right, does anybody have any questions for Mr. Nance? Thank you, Mr. Nance. Anybody else who wishes to speak in favor of the zone change? In favor? Anybody who wishes to speak against the zone change? Against the zone change?
Let me make a real comment real quick.
Yes, sir.
It's, Mr. Nance, are we gonna leave the land that is behind the property, is that gonna be landlocked, or do we have enough space to have?
Coming in the next item.
I know, but if we're approving this, are we leaving the back section, are you also?
We brought a master plan here at the last meeting, and there are avenues out of this.
There's section.
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. There are multiple
Thank you, sir.
ways in and out. Yes, sir.
That's what I wanted to, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. What are the wishes of the commission?
Motion to close, public hearing and go with staff recommendation.
Second.
Second? Who's the second?
Yo.
Oh, Daniela, okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those against? Motion carries. Next item, amending the zoning ordinance of the city of Laredo by rezoning approximately 27.449 acres. This property is located east of Old Milwaukee Road and south of State Highway 359. The request is to go from an R3 and a B4 to an R1B district.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, applicant is Mesquite Land Development, Inc., owner, Otis Nance Engineering, applicant and representative. Property description, approximately 27.449 acres located east of Old Milwaukee Road and south of State Highway 359. Zone change request is from an R3 and a B4 to an R1B. Proposed use is residential. Letter sent 2940 against 0. Location view. Aerial view. Street view. Zoning overview. Future land use. Staff recommendation, staff does not support the proposed zone change. Proposed motion. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Anybody who wishes to speak in favor? Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, Wayne Nance again with Porterhouse Engineering. We're in support of this. We feel that this is an appropriate zone for this area in light of the neighborhood, and we're here to answer any questions that you might have.
Anybody have any questions for
Yes,
Mr. Nance?
it's, one of the biggest problems that we have, Mr. Nance, is that, on the R1Bs, the width of the lots creating a problem within the subdivisions, even though it seems that the developer is creating, housing values for the community. Actually, it's not creating that. actually is creating a hardship for them, a stress for them. Because we have seen a lot of the members of the community come before us, Mr. Chairman, and mentioning the fact that, that the front is either too narrow, you can't easily park two vehicles in front of it. So, that being said, one of my questions is, what is gonna be the width of the front of the lots? Go ahead. Mr. Salinas?
Go ahead.
The width of the front of the lots are gonna be a traditional, the traditional R1B width, which is about 35 foot. That's the minimum. They vary around curves and corners and all that. They'll get a little bit wider. But I've been taking notes for the last few meetings, and I know that there's been some concerns with R1B, and we agree that maybe there's the potential there for parking issues. So what we're proposing with our subdivision is, we had Mr. Nance come up with vehicle lengths, typical vehicle lengths, four-door pickup trucks, maybe not Mr. Reyes' pickup truck, but, F-150, four-door pickup trucks, the Suburban, and then some regular cars, like maybe a smaller SUV or a Camry. And the goal was to try to see how far we can push back the lots and how much extra driveway we can get, so you can actually get 4 cars to park on every lot. Staff had mentioned to us that, hey, maybe you can have some extra parking in the neighborhood. We saw that try to happen in Concord Hills, and that didn't work out very well. So we figured, what can we do to get more cars on the same lot? So we're not including 4 cars on the actual lot itself, not including garages. So if there's a garage, it's 2 extra cars, so you'd have like a total of 6. And if I may, I'd like to put an exhibit up, just to kind of show what the, so I guess this here is a typical house, and I mean a typical setback of 20 feet. And that's in all R1, R1A districts for all of Laredo. And what we did was, I think this is a 4-door F-250, and I think these are Camrys, which are the same length as like a 4Runner. And we came up with a measurement of 36 feet inside the property line. So your driveway actually starts, like the sidewalk is here, these 4 feet, and then you have 5.5 feet to the property line of driveway. And then in addition to that, we'd have 36 foot as a minimum setback to any house here. So we are sacrificing some backyard, but we figure in this specific subdivision, we've got the width or the depth on the lots, so we'll be able to do that. I'm not suggesting, in case Danny Wires or somebody else is, I'm not suggesting this should be the standard, but for this specific subdivision, we have the room for it, and we'd like to do something, like you said, we're trying to provide some value, so we'd like to do something that actually doesn't create any hardships, and it's actually, I wish I had 4 spaces in front of my house, which I don't.
Me too.
But we figured, I have a chart down here, which is kind of like small. I'll get a larger size. And this goes through the typical, like a typical R1 or even an R1A property, and compares it to an R1B. And the typical setbacks, 20, we're proposing 36, an additional 16 feet. Off-street parking typically is only 2, and any other zone, we're proposing 4. And so we will have more lots. We end up with 36 more lots than we would on the, in the normal subdivision. If it was like an R1, 1A. So if we took 2.5 cars per household, we would be putting an additional 90 cars in the subdivision. Which at the beginning sounds like a lot, but if you look at a traditional neighborhood with only 2 parking spaces on their driveway, they'll only have 354 parking spaces. We'll have 852. So with an R1A, you would be forced to park 89 cars in the street, just because at 2.5, I'm assuming 2.5 cars, on average. And in our subdivision, we're going to be over parked by 320. So there'll be, for sure, 89 cars in an R1A. Over here, there'll be 0, because we'll have so many on site. And again, this is just this specific neighborhood. Perhaps it might not work in other ones that might not have the right depth. But we thought that this would be a good compromise for the traffic concerns and the parking.
Go ahead.
Let me ask you a question, Juan.
Yes, sir.
How many lots were you proposing?
213.
Okay. What is the street width? Standard?
Standard street width, just like an R1, an
Because
R1A.
usually the problem that had come in is getting out, and there was somebody else parked across the street.
Yeah.
And then there was somebody parked in front of the house, and
Sure.
that's where it created
And
not only the problem for the people trying to get in and out, but it also created problems for the emergency vehicles.
oh, yes.
Because
no,
it
no
becomes,
doubt.
okay, who's gonna chicken first out?
Sure.
Which is pretty much standard in all your subdivisions. I'm not gonna just say, it's in all subdivisions right now, and that's something that in the future you need to look at, because it's like you're saying, you know, I mean, you're accommodating 4 vehicles. Most people now are having 3 to 4 vehicles because the kids drive. And they're having to park them on sides of subdivisions, and that's reducing the lanes of travel to 1.
Yes.
And it is becoming something we have to study and look at.
But I agree, and I sat through the last meeting when the engineering, or the city engineer representative was
Yeah.
kind of talking to that. And so we came up with this solution as maybe we'll handle all the traffic on every site, and that way there's no need. There's no other subdivision that would have this depth. If you go through even big houses like in Regency or Del Mar C, they don't go back 36 feet. This would be like the biggest setback. And typically, there's not a lot of cars in front of those subdivisions, just because they do have a little bit more, they don't quite have this. So,
It's a good concept. It's a good concept, I mean, to alleviate some of the issues. It's a good concept.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, I drew a little picture right here, Mr. Salinas, and what I have is the length of a vehicle,
yes,
which is about 20 feet, more or less, from the beginning of the lot to the beginning of the driveway. What I see there is that anybody that parks in front of the property, then those vehicles are not gonna go out. And even though the logistics are nice and beautiful, I will never see those 4 vehicles there at the same time. Chances are that if somebody wants to move the vehicle that is right in front,
Sure.
they're gonna back up the vehicle and invade, overflow into the property next door. So what I've always thought is that we need to create a space where one of the vehicles will park in the front and allow the logistics of the movement of the other 2 vehicles in the driveway. I feel that, and I'm not trying for you to do whatever, I mean, you can come here, we can deny it, or we can make a recommendation.
yes, sir.
But I think that the width of the lot, Mr. Chairman, would be more appropriate around 40 to 42 feet wide in the front. Why? Well, we have a vehicle which is about 20 to 22 feet from the edge of the property. And then we're gonna have the driveway.
Yes.
The driveway for 2 vehicles, on the minimum, we need at least 16 feet, and that would be too close to open the doors.
Sure.
So that would be 20 plus 16 plus the space that we need to leave between the other property line. So that would be about 3 or 4 feet. So we're looking at roughly about 40, 42 feet.
Sure.
That's what I'm looking at, that we need to provide for the development without creating an overflow into somebody else's lot. See, what you have there is perfect, but if we would create, if we can actually bring the width of the lots to about 42 feet, that would be perfect. You're gonna be sacrificing properties? Definitely.
And
Wow.
that's an R1A.
Yeah, it's an R1A already exists.
That would be an R1A.
It's
That is
42.
correct.
I think, you know, with what you've got up there, you're providing parking for 4 off-street. Let's face it, how many people are gonna have 5, 6 cars? You know, most people have 3 in R1Bs, because it's a smaller, you know, home, smaller everything. So you'll have 3, maybe you'll have 4. But I think with what you're proposing, to take them off of the street gives options to minimize some of these headaches that have been going on. And because of the cost of constructing right now and buying a house, the only market that's really potentially there for a lot of people right now is an R1B because of the cost. And that you're trying to provide some kind of affordable housing, and you're trying to also come up with creative solutions to what you've heard, that it's been an issue with the R1B.
Yes, sir.
So I mean, Commissioner Dominguez makes a good point, but unfortunately, everything's about cost. And that cost transfers over to whoever's gonna buy the property. And right now, if we look at values of construction, it's very difficult for, an average family, to buy a house.
I'll make a quick follow-up on that, Mr. Chairman, if I may, not to interrupt you. I agree with you. I agree with you on the cost basis, see? But I own a big house without any problem, people parking in front. And most of us own big house, see? How would you feel buying a house like that, because you have no choice? You as developers have the hand to create a good, community-oriented, happy environment for them. And we're sacrificing that for 6 feet. And real quick, I'll finish it real quick. So this is probably gonna be approved as an R1B. I don't agree with that, but if it gets approved, it gets approved. But keep in mind that whoever is buying those properties are the ones that are coming here before us. And the first thing they said, we can't even get out of a driveway. See? And that's sad for them, because they don't have any choice. They're buying it because they don't have any choice. Go ahead, Mr. Salinas.
If I may, just real quick,
Go
Jerry.
ahead.
The economics of a 42-foot wide lot and a 35-foot wide lot are actually the same. Their net is the same thing. The only thing that differs is that it appears that we get some more lots here, but you have to charge about, if you don't charge about 16 to 18%, if you have to charge any more than that, well, then the economics don't work for an R1B. So these actually sell for almost 20% less than a typical R1A lot. And we probably have 4 times the amount of lots that we're doing now as an R1A. But the only reason we're doing these is because the underlying zoning is an R3 currently. So we can do manufactured homes there, we can do apartments there, homes. And when I met with the city councilman, he asked me not to do an R3 subdivision there. He says that there's been a lot of investment in the area, a lot of new homes being built, and he kind of wanted to keep the same thing, but also an affordability factor. So we can go ahead and put more R1A lots down here, but we have to sell them for so expensive, and that 20% didn't seem like much. But when the builders go in there and they put their multiplier on it, like a Westwind or Armadillo, that equates to $30,000, $35,000, $40,000 less of a home price. And with interest rates, I think today they just went past 6%. The reason the R1B is there is just because just the interest rate hike, not even counting the interest and the increase in the cost, just wiped out a whole big section of buyers. So,
Mr. Chairman.
I think one of the things, let me just go ahead and stop everybody right now. This is strictly a zoning issue.
Right.
Yes.
Okay? So let's just stick to the zoning. You still have to come in with your plat to get it approved. We're just gonna talk about the zoning issue right now, and that's all we're gonna do.
Yes.
Their development on how you're gonna develop it, if you get a zone change approved, is then up to you how to design.
Understood. Can I ask a question, though? Really quick, Mr. Salinas, what is the percentage of folks that you'll be able to help with the affordable housing if you're able to do the R1B instead of an R1A? Like, would you know, more or less, if you have to guess, as far as price, right? Like, for potential buyers?
mean, the price point would come down significantly, but probably that drop is exactly what, 6 months ago, folks were being able to afford in an R1A. It's probably the same folks that can't afford a house anymore, for an R1, perhaps could be able to afford an R1.
Not an R1B. Now, my only thing with R1Bs, as far as zone, is that they do get the brunt end of the parking issues, but I can bet money that I can find a few R1As that they're gonna have the same issues. Whether there's gonna be off-street parking or people parked on the streets, it could be an R1, R1A, or R1B. As far as the zoning here that we're talking about, I'd like to see why staff does not support the current zoning. If the current zoning is an R3, which is a higher density, which Mr. Salinas just mentioned, they can have mobile homes, which I believe the current councilman is not in favor of. I believe they can do duplexes, apartments, and honestly, I don't know why the applicant would want to pretty much down zone from the opportunities to be able to do all these other developments. But I'm assuming you're working with our community and our city to be able to provide a affordable home for someone to be able to have access to, rather than be pushed out based on the interest rates that you just mentioned. Number one. Number two, the comments are because the current zone designation as a high-density residential park, which is, I mean, I believe there's a B4 that we just recommended to approve. Next to it, I believe it's an R3. Behind this property, I believe there's 200 acres that are non-developed. And next to this development, I see it's more of a mixed development I would say to the west, which is warehouses, mobile homes, a few homes. So, which leads me to the second comment, which was staff did not approve because it has a negative impact in the surrounding area. And the only, I don't see why a rail yard, I don't know if it's a rail yard, but a yard next to it, the Linedecker yard, would have that big of an impact on an R1B development or the property south to it, which is undeveloped. So I do not agree with a negative impact of this development happening, or not development, but this zone, the R1B.
Do you want anything?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I've spoke to both Mr. Salinas, about what they would like to do. I like the fact that you're proactive in trying to figure out a way to make this work. And, I don't necessarily disagree with their concept of what they want to do. My only problem is this is a zone case. We would have to just take their word for it. But when they go through the planning process, they can do the minimum of what is required because they have that right. There's no way for me to go in there to tell them, hey, you said, it doesn't work that way.
Well, the commission has to approve our plan so they can
I mean,
certainly deny.
We can make a preliminary
I
comment.
understand that, but if you do it
Plat comment.
to the subdivision ordinance, you're still legal.
The
You know what I'm saying?
alternative is an R3. So I think an R3 is a more favorable zone for us. So we're making an effort to try to do this. We could also wait 3 months until the councilman's not there anymore and take our chances with the new councilman.
No, it's just that. I mean, I have no way of a guarantee other than your word.
Well, I think, it's like anything else, I mean, your analysis, y'all did an analysis. The commission members also they do their own analysis also.
Okay.
Some of us have 30, 40 years' experience in a lot of areas where your staff doesn't. You'll get there. I mean, you have a good staff. You have very good people. The issue right now before us, though, is a zone change, strictly a zone change. You were very gracious in providing a lot of information as to what you're proposing to do, to some of the questions that were answered. But I think it's time for now to move on with this thing. So thank you very much for your comments.
Thank you.
All right?
Appreciate it.
Anybody else who wishes to speak in favor? In favor? Anybody else who wishes to speak against? Against? All right, what are the wishes of the commission?
I'll make a move to deny the zone change and to follow staff recommendation for the now.
All right, we have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second? Motion dies for lack of second. All right?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing and go against staff recommendation and allow the R1B.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second right here. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those against? One against.
Thank you.
Motion carries. The next item, amending the zoning ordinance of the city of Laredo by amending ordinance 2016-0-080, which authorizes a special use permit for a restaurant serving alcohol on Lot 5A, Block 1, Encino Plaza subdivision, Unit 2A, located at 7518 McPherson Road, Suite 510. In order to remove Junction Partners Limited and Encino Plaza Limited for Cosmos Bar and Grill Restaurant and replace with Cosmos Bar and Grill and Encino Plaza Incorporated as the parties to whom the permit is issued.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, we have applicant Junction Partners, Inc. and Encino Plaza LTD owners applicants. We have Premier Engineering, Armando Guerra and Daniel Tejerina as the representatives. Property location, Lot 5A, Block 1, Encino Plaza subdivision, Unit 2A, located at 7518 McPherson Road, Suite 510. Zone change request this is for an amendment of a special use permit for a restaurant serving alcohol. Proposed use is for a restaurant serving alcohol. Letter sent is 21. We have 1 for and 1 against. Location view. Aerial view. Street view.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Zoning map. Future land use map. And the recommendation is staff supports. And the proposed motion.
Okay. So this is also going back, based on what you're saying, is that there is an ordinance now that these are transferable. Yeah. Okay, this is a public hearing. Anybody who wishes to speak in favor? In favor?
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, Danny Tejerina for the record, and Armando Guerra and I are here to speak in favor of this item. However, if I may, I would like to go on the record and address 2 things, if that's
Sure, go ahead.
Great. Number 1 is the application we submitted names Cosmos Bar and Grill and Encino Plaza Inc. as a new entity. It's actually incorrect. The correct entity is Cosmos Bar and Grill Encino Plaza Incorporated without the end.
I'm sorry, go ahead. Say it again?
So the application basically stated Cosmos Bar and Grill and Encino Plaza Inc. as a new entity, while in fact, the correct entity is Cosmos Bar and Grill Encino Plaza Inc. without the end.
Altogether?
Just for,
Without the and.
yes, sir, yes, sir. Just for legal purposes. And then item number 2 is we fully agree with the recommendation of staff. However, we humbly ask that you consider eliminating condition number 3 and leave the operating hours as they have been for the last 5+ years. And I'm here to answer any questions.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
The owners are still the same. Owners is still Cosmos Bar and Grill, and it's just a changing on the removal of Junction Partners.
That's correct. So the current owners are the Trotman family, basically, and they're selling it to the new entity, which is 100% owned by Dan Windle. And so now it turns it into a situation where the SUP, he would be owner operator of the building and Cosmos itself.
And he was already part of this conditional, this special use permit.
Yes, ma'am, that's correct. As far as the management, the management stays exactly the same. The operator's the same.
I have the question that I have for staff is, why did you guys decide to change number 3?
Change on the, I'm sorry?
Of the
3.
hours.
On the special use permit, why did you decide to change the hours of operation?
Oh, I'm sorry. We've Of the 3 special use permits for restaurants serving alcohol, we did sort of a brief inventory of restaurants serving alcohol in our area, and we found that most of them closed by 11, some in rare cases by 12. We could find very few true restaurants serving alcohol that closed at 2. Taco Palenque is one of those that, is a restaurant serving alcohol that that doesn't close. So we found that, the hours matched the proposed use. A restaurant serving alcohol typically 11 to 12.
But,
And those were the same hours that we're proposing in all 3. So it was just across the board.
it's something that you guys are doing, but it's,
I'm sorry.
go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, you finish, please.
All right. Okay, that was based on staff, but state law is at 2:00 in the morning, so, okay.
For bars.
Right. Well, a
But-
restaurant's
but this-
alcohol.
But this is not a bar.
No, but it's a restaurant that also sells alcohol. They can continue selling alcohol till 2:00 in the morning.
That's
If the
correct.
restaurant is open.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Well, as long as the kitchen's open.
Yes.
Well, the restaurant has to be open and it has to be functional over 50%, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Chairman, I know there may be some, I don't know if we've closed public comment yet. No, right, we still have the
No, we
for
have
and
not.
against. Okay.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for the applicant? No?
No.
Thank you very much. Thank you. All right, anybody else who wishes to speak in favor? In favor. Anybody who wishes to speak against? Against. All right, what are the wishes of the commission?
I move to close public comment and support staff recommendation to amend the special use permit without changing item number 3, leaving it just as it previously was.
Second.
We have a motion. Second by who? Mr. Barron. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those against? Motion carries. The next item, amending zoning.
I'm sorry, and on that motion to also make note that the name should not have an "and" between grill and Encino.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Next item is amending the zoning ordinance of the city of Laredo by amending ordinance 2007-0-050, which authorizes special use for a mini storage warehouse on lots 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, block 1068 Eastern Division, located at 1320 South Meadow Avenue, in order to add approximately 1.466 acres as further described attached Exhibit A, north of the existing mini storages.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, applicant is Gateway Builders LTD. The owners, Calissa Molano, is the applicant. Property locations is lots 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, block 1068, Eastern Division, located at 1320 South Meadow Avenue, in order to add approximately 1.4666 acres as further described and attached Exhibit A, north of the existing mini storage. The zone change request is actually a special use permit amendment for mini storage warehouse. The proposed use is mini storage warehouse. Letters sent were 25-4-0 against 0. Location view. Aerial view. Street view. Zoning overview. Sorry. Future land use. Staff recommendation, staff supports the proposed special use permit amendment. Proposed motion. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
This is a public hearing. Anybody who wishes to speak in favor?
Good evening, my name is Juan Molano, I'm with Redline Architecture, Chairman and Commissioners. We're in support of the SUP permit, and if you have any questions, I can try to answer.
The intent is to add storage units?
To enlarge the development of the mini storages.
Okay. The ownership is staying the same?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All Thank you. Anybody else who wishes to speak in favor of the zone change? Or the conditional use permit, I'm sorry, conditional use permit. In favor.
Special use permit.
Special use permit.
Hi,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Rincon, Zabdiel Rincon, my dad, Bernardo. We just want clarification. We are the owners of block 1007. We're not really either in favor or against, depending on the outcome of what happens here. I understand that there's on block 1069, there's a street. Our block is 1007 under that. So we just want a little bit more clarification as far as how we're gonna have entrance to our property.
Your property's which lot?
1007.
Okay. You guys go ahead and put that up there. There you go.
¿Dónde está? 1007.
That one up there.
1007?
Go up one more, slide.
There we go. So under 1007, that's a flood zone area. There's actually no.
How are you getting into your property right now?
Right now, we're not getting in there. We're barely in the process of probably implementing something as far as building.
Is there like a little, is there a street or a road? There's no street, right?
No, it's just a road.
I mean, there's a street on paper.
It is on
Okay?
paper.
There's a paper street on there.
There's a driveway, there's an existing driveway. It's an expansion of the existing mini storage.
For 1007 access?
Yeah. If you can show the driveway or the picture.
I have it on my phone. I don't know if I can put it here.
We're talking about the mini storages, right?
We're talking about the access to 1007, which is
That
the
is
lot right next to
behind.
it.
It's behind or?
It's right next to it, so, yeah.
Yes, I could clarify, the owner of Gateway Builders, the existing mini storage, their current access is down to that park, the Chacon Park. Our property line ends before that right of way. We are not blocking that right of way.
That's what I'm
Which is
saying.
Bollinger.
Bollinger, yeah.
That's correct.
Bollinger.
Yeah, Bollinger is a street that is on the map here.
Yeah.
I don't know what it looks like. Is it drivable?
It's drivable. Yeah, it's to a public park and there's walking trails.
Okay. So you do have access to 1007?
Nothing's gonna be built in that.
No,
Where the
they
existing
cannot.
right of way, yeah, no,
They cannot build on that particular section of, that's a street.
City right of way.
That's a city right away, it's a street. So that's your access to your property,
Perfect.
okay?
Yeah.
Okay,
That was our.
all right, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Sure. Anybody else who wishes to speak for or against, for or against? All right, what are the wishes of the commission?
Motion to approve.
Got a motion and a second? Second. Mr. Barron, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those against? Motion carries. Next item, amending the zoning ordinance of City of Laredo by authorizing the issuance of a special use permit for a restaurant selling alcohol on lots 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, block 474, Western Division, located at 2410 Santa Ursula Avenue, first floor restaurant.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, we have applicant Landstar Hotels Laredo LLC as the owner, Howland Engineering and Serving Company as applicant, and we have Miguel Jimenez as representative. Property location, we have lots 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, block 1474 Western Division, located at 2410 Santa Ursa Avenue. Zone change request is a special use permit for a restaurant serving alcohol. Proposed use is a restaurant serving alcohol. Letters sent were 10, and we have none for and none against. Location view. Aerial view. Street view. Zoning map. Future land use map. And the recommendation is staff supports. And the proposed motion.
All right, thank you. This is a public hearing. Anybody who wishes to speak in favor of the special use permit? Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. My name is Dana Vital. I'm with Howland Engineering. I'm here to represent the client, and we support staff's recommendation.
Okay. Any questions? Thank you very much. Anybody else who wishes to speak in favor? In favor. Anybody who wishes to speak against? Against. All right, what are the wishes of the commission?
I'll make a motion to close public hearing and support staff recommendation for the special use permit.
We have a motion, do we have a second from?
Second.
Second over here from Daniela. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those against, motion carries. Amending the zoning ordinance of the city of Laredo by rezoning lot 1, block 3, New Vision subdivision phase 2, located at 2405 Grisello Drive from R1 to R2.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, applicant is Highline Inc. Owner Alexia Guzman is the applicant and representative. Property location is Lot 1, Block 3, New Vision Subdivision, Phase 2, located 2405 Grisel Drive. Zone change request is from an R1 to an R2. Proposed use is multifamily apartments. Letter sent 6240 against 0. Location view. Aerial view. Street view. Zoning overview. Featured land use. Staff recommendation, staff supports the proposed zone change. Proposed motion. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. This is a public hearing. Anybody who wishes to speak in favor? In favor.
Good evening. My name is Alexia Guzman, and I am in favor. And if you guys have any questions, I represent Highline.
Okay, how big is this property?
It's about, I have the site plan with me. If my architect.
I'm just curious.
It's 4 acres, 138,000 square foot.
4 acres, more or less?
2.4.
Okay, that's it, thank you. Anybody else who wishes to speak in favor? In favor?
Yeah.
Anybody who wishes to speak against? Against?
Hello, Council.
Yes,
My name
sir.
is Aristeo Canales, and I vote against the motion. I'm a resident of that area, and I'd like to, I'm against that change.
Okay, all right, thank you. Anybody else?
Good evening, my name is Amy Perez. I'm also against it. I live right in front of, and on 2404 Grisel Drive. I've been there about 8 years, 8 years. I've seen the way this area has grown, and believe me, I'm all for it. But I feel like this area is very small, and we've had there's been several accidents within the last couple of months. It's very congested now, and I feel like adding apartment complexes, aside from the ones that we already have towards the back, the Housing 8 that we have, I feel like adding more apartments to this area is gonna make more of a congestion. It's a two-way street. People are always going super fast to that street. So adding more people to that area, I have 2 little boys that I brought with me. And it's difficult to have, that type of congestion there. So I'm against it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else who wishes to speak against the project, against the zone change?
I have a question for staff.
All right, go ahead.
Well, it's traffic, but was there any traffic analysis or impact as far as having this type of density on Casa Verde?
I talked to traffic about this, to see if there was a proposed traffic light in the future or anything of that nature. There wasn't really an update. Most of these streets, or all these streets, dead end, so they don't go through. They dead end on both sides, all the way up and down. We have one street that would be people coming out of Alexander and turning to go. That's further to the north. And we see traffic coming out of there. The traffic we see is just the rooftops, but I don't have a final comment from traffic. They didn't give me any idea of any kind of signalization that they were gonna put there or anything like that.
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to clarify about the traffic. We're still working on the project, but I don't know if you can take a look. I don't know how to go. Oh. So this is the. Oh, all right. Just this is, we're not proposing to use the entrance from Casa Verde Road. So we're trying to work to Result Road. So with several entrances. Over here.
So you're not gonna use, you're trying to stay away from Casa Verde and you're gonna
Yeah.
go through the neighborhood?
Yeah.
Wait,
We have Result over here. It's not a final project yet. We're trying to figure it out about that because of the traffic issue. In case it's your decision. This is just a draft.
how many units are you proposing?
44?
44 units? And you're proposing to have 1, 2,
3 entrances.
3,
4 entrances.
4 entrances and exits to this area?
Yeah. And we need to we still need to work with the building department to review all of this, but in case you propose to have access through Casa Verde or 2 and 2, just to help the neighbor.
To
the
help
neighborhood.
the traffic.
Yeah.
All right here. Entrances and exits are right here.
Well, Giselle, right?
Giselle.
And Giselle goes. Okay. Hmm? Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
Speaking of the traffic issue, I have a personal situation where I lost 2 of my pets on that street, precisely Casa Verde, due to the high-speed traffic on that road. The congestion has increased over the years. I've been there about 5 years, and the traffic is going from worse to terrible. And we also are looking at the potential impact on the value of the homes that are in that area. We have an apartment complex about a block and a half down that was recently built that is apparently also accepting Section 8 funding. So that's creating a congestion problem. And he's talking about using a residential area as a out and in, which is going to create havoc in that area. I think further study needs to be done.
Yeah, if I may, I do have a little concern, because I know morning traffic backs up on Casa Verde, and I know with the increase in letting outlets from University, and then with the apartment complex, Alexander, and then now adding another multifamily with 44 plus units, I just think it's something to really consider. Just a little hesitant on that, because Casa Verde is populated, it's you really can't expand it any more as it is, so I'm a little concerned about that.
Okay, thank you.
Not to mention the safety as well. I mean, if there's 44 units, like I said, I've been there 8 years, I have had no issues, but bringing 44 units to a residential area and that size, I feel like would not be a good addition to that area.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, anybody else who wishes to speak for or against? For or against? For or against? All right, what are the wishes of the commission?
I'll make a motion not to support staff recommendation on the zone change.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I second it.
We have a second. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those against? The motion carries. All right, the next item is a consideration of the following preliminary plats and preliminary replats. Preliminary consideration of the plat of CenterPoint Energy, City Gate Number 2, and the granting of a variance in water connections, landscaping requirements, public sewer, and retention, detention facilities intended for natural gas valve and metering station. All right?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, for the record, applicant is Juan A. Ludwig, engineer Juan A. Ludwig. Proposed use is for a natural gas valve and metering station. The zoning for this one lot development is B4. This is a location view. Aerial view. Street view. The proposed plat. comments from planning, and the proposed motion.
All right. Center Point, are you in agreement with the comments? Anybody from Center? Okay. Hold up.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Chairman, Commissioners, thank you. My name's Juan Ludwig, CDS Murray. I'm one of the engineers of record working with Center Point Energy. We don't have any objections with respect to the comments. Basically, this is a half-acre development. It's non-habitable. It's a metering valve station. It's not going to require any type of sanitary sewer water facilities. Basically constructed out of flexible base material and gravel, not going to generate a lot of runoff, but we are in agreement with the staff recommendations. We'll go through the one-stop shop facility and work with engineering to make sure that this is an establishment that's acceptable to the engineering department.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
What are the wishes of the commission? Let's not all speak at the same time. Okay. Somebody
So
want
I'll
to make a motion?
To approve,
Yeah.
subject to comments.
All right, we have a motion. We have a second.
Second.
Commissioner Barron. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those against, motion carries. Next item is preliminary consideration of the plat of Isla subdivision, phase one. The intent is residential. Hello.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, applicant is Las Islitas Residences. Engineers Ricardo Ramos, proposed use is residential, and the zoning for this 24 lot development is R1. Location view, aerial view, street view, proposed plat, comments from planning, traffic and fire. The comments from traffic and fire were not included in the packet, but are presented here in the meeting. And the proposed motion.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Ricardo Ramos, and I'm the project engineer for this proposed plat. I do want to give a little bit of history on this. This plat came it was in 2020. We presented it to the board, and it got approved. We proceeded with one-stop shop, and we got comments, and we pretty much clarified the comments that we got from them. So I've reviewed the comments provided, and I would like to take exception to a couple of them. Not that they're not valid, it's just that I would like to take care of them at the one-stop shop. And the first one is the traffic, the check site distance requirement. We did do that already, and we provided 4 alternatives to staff, and they selected one and agreed with that when we went to the one-stop shop at the beginning. So I would like to take that, I guess, represent it to them and see what.
Well, but you're not, I mean, all they're saying is for you to go through the actions of what you're talking about, going through the one-stop shop.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Chairman, just to provide a little bit of clarification on this, and when this plat originally came in, it was 2019, but the thing is, it's expired.
Yes.
So that's why they're trying
gotta
to
go
bring it,
through it
just
again.
get it going again.
Right.
No, you have to,
So,
yeah, it'll be
okay.
going back to the one-stop shop.
Right, correctly.
Right. Yeah, all they're doing is just saying, hey, these are things that have
These
to
are
be
things that
addressed.
come up, well, then that's fine, if it's just
That's what it
reiterating
is.
what we went through before.
Yeah, they're just saying
not an
they have to
issue.
be addressed, and because it's
Okay.
a new process again.
Okay, great, well then, I mean, if that's the case, then we're good.
All right, thank you.
All right.
What are the wishes of the commission?
I move to approve, subject to comments.
We have a motion and a second by Daniela. I guess. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those against, motion carries. The next item is preliminary consideration replat of Lot 2A, Block 1, amended Laredo Arena subdivision, Unit 4, into lots 2B and C, Block 1, Laredo Arena subdivision, Unit 4. The intent is commercial.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, for the record, applicant is BH Properties, engineers Topside Civil Group. Proposed use is commercial, and it is a two-lot development, and it is zoned B4. Location view, aerial view, street view, the plat and the replat, comments from planning, and the proposed motion.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, Ricardo Villarreal with Topside. We concur with staff comments here to answer any questions.
All right. Thank you. What are the wishes of the commission?
Motion to, go ahead. Motion to approve, subject to comments.
Second.
All right, second. Those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those against, motion carries. The next item is a preliminary consideration of a plat of Track A, 70 Flags. The intent is commercial.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, applicant is Carter Feldhoff, engineer is Justin Cantwell. Proposed use is commercial. The zoning for this one lot development is not applicable as this area is outside the city limits but within the ETJ. Location view, aerial view, the proposed plat, comments from planning, and the proposed motion.
Okay, whereabouts is this property? Somebody here to speak in favor of this, or
Yes, sir. This is, you want to go back to that map?
you want to go ahead and state your name for the record?
Yes,
please?
sir. Jackson Hughes, project developer for this project.
All right. Where is this project more or less located?
Far west of Laredo, within the ETJ.
Far west of Laredo off of the Mines Road area?
Mr. Chairman.
Apologies.
Mr. Chairman, if you picture Cuatro Vientos and the intersection of the old Wormser Road.
Yeah.
You follow Wormser Road to the east.
Okay.
And there's an electrical AEP substation out
All
there.
right.
So this is immediately to the north of it. So you're looking, it's a bit of ways. In the ETJ, but it's a bit of ways.
But it's a bit of ways, okay. All right. And the intent is commercial, is that correct?
Correct. Only one comment on the notes. We do plan to file a variance that is, on the access easement width based on the landowner's preference, and it will be a non-housed unit. There will be no one living there or working there, so we hope to bring it down to 30 feet wide with a 30 feet paving section. Yeah, and it will not be used for any housing.
Okay, so
But we'll
they're proposing 50-foot wide with a 30-foot paving section.
Correct, that's a note, yeah.
You're okay with that?
We would like to apply a variance to get down to 30 feet wide.
30 feet wide right away
Correct, easement.
and an easement. And the paved section?
30 feet, I believe. We will be applying for that.
Okay, so you're gonna do 30 feet of pavement and 30 feet of right of way, is that what you're saying?
I don't have the numbers on me right now, but we will be submitting that variance before the final plat is approved.
Oh. I'm trying to understand as best as I can here.
I can explain again in a way.
Because the subdivision ordinance, no, I can see, I know what it is. You know, there's certain preliminary, your access point is coming in off of Worms Road, which part of that is in the city limits.
Well, at this particular point where he's at, the road is fully in the county.
Okay.
Unfortunately, the track that he has does not actually touch Wormser, so he needs an access easement.
Okay.
Our subdivision ordinance does call for the 50 feet, and that's why he wants to see if
there's a variance that can be granted to him.
That'd be granted. The ordinance, again, does call for the 50, but that's what the
Okay.
ordinance calls for.
I guess the next question I have you taken this to the county?
Not yet. We will get approval from them before final plat.
Okay. All right, so then the variance that you're looking for is really just to connect into
Connect it
Wormser,
to Wormser.
which is,
There's hardly.
really it's gonna be coming up to the county.
Right, because
Really, the county's gonna want us, they're gonna dictate to you the size of the width of the road or the right of way that they want.
That is correct.
All they're doing here is just saying this is a compliance issue with their subdivision ordinance where you tie into Wormser, that's it. Okay. Does anybody have any other questions for this individual? Nope, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, what are the wishes of the commission?
Motion to approve subject to staff comments.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second? Second, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Daniela seconded.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, if I may,
Thank you.
is that with the granting of the variance or without? That's,
I didn't hear anything.
It's the way it was presented to us.
yeah. Okay.
All right, all those, in favor of the motion?
Aye.
All those against? Okay, so what, all those in favor of this motion?
Todos estamos de acuerdo que se quede como estaba.
As presented by staff.
That, I agree, so your motion, everybody's in agreement with that, all right.
Yes.
Aye.
All right, those against?
Estamos-
Those
muy
against?
frío.
No, nobody's against it. All right, so the motion carries.
¿Tú al aire, Willie?
Next, the next item is consideration, why don't we take item 8A through,
10A.
no, let's do 8A through F.
Yes.
And then we'll, let's do 8 through 10. 8 through 10, can we have a motion to take them all together?
So move.
Motion, we have a second, we have a second right here. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We have a motion for approval.
Yes. If you don't mind, we'd like to read them in for the record.
Once
Well,
they
you go right
approve.
ahead and do that. First, we'll do some action on them.
Once they approve, right?
Yeah.
Once they approve it,
Once
yes.
we approve them, then you can read them into the record.
Right.
I'll move to approve items 8A through 10A.
And a
I
second, second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those against, motion carries. You may now go ahead and read them into the record.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. For the record, 8A, final consideration of Doug Stanley plat. The intent is commercial. 8B, final consideration of the replat of lot 19, 20, 21, Block 6, Inter-America Distribution Park Phase 4, and 27.83 unplatted acres into lot 19A, lot 21A, Block 6, Inter-America Distribution Park Phase 4. The intent is industrial, approved. 8C, final consideration of Miguel Angel Rodriguez plat. The intent is commercial, approved. 8D, final consideration of replat of Lot 3, Block 3, Cielito Lindo Commercial Plat into Lot 3A, Block 3, Cielito Lindo Commercial Plat. The intent is commercial, approved. 8E, final consideration of Aleas Commercial Plat, Phase 1 plat. The intent is commercial, approved. 8F, final consideration of replat of Lot 1, Block 1, 501 Imperial Partners Manada subdivision into North Crest residential subdivision. The intent is residential, approved.
We done?
No, 9?
No, they
Now the
they
nine.
approved the rest of them.
9 as well?
Yeah,
Read it all the way through 10.
Okay. 9A, final reconsideration of plat Harmony Hills subdivision Phase 1 at Rodriguez Ranch. The intent is residential. The purpose of this reconsideration is to add a lot for mail delivery cluster boxes. Approved. 10A, consideration of model subdivision rule compliance, the plat of R and W Ranch subdivision Phase 5. The intent is residential, approved.
Motion to adjourn.
I'm ready to adjourn.
Second? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.